All right, so this is going to be a very controversial topic for most folks because it's probably going to spark some anger in folks who really believe that truck brand matters today as much as it may have mattered to them in the past. So let's talk about why you might want to open your mind up a little bit when it comes to buying a certain brand of truck. And yeah, this is definitely a topic I think might anger some folks. Hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, so a lot of folks are out there trying to buy a truck, whether it's a new truck, whether it's a pre-owned truck. It's a really nice Ram right there, by the way. Anyways, a lot of people are out there trying to buy a truck. And a question that's constantly asked on the channel is if they should look at a brand that's outside of the brand that they normally buy. So there's a lot of folks that are die-hard Chevy fans, a lot of folks who are die-hard GMC, Ford, Ram, Nissan, Toyota. I mean, just every brand you can imagine. They have their own base of fans who really don't want to buy anything but that brand because of some experience that they had. All right, and that's really what it comes down to. There's some folks who might have had a Chevy and they had a really bad experience, so they jumped and went to a Ram, and they've had a really good experience. So they're like, I'm never going to buy a Chevy again. It was a piece of junk, and I'm only going to buy Ram until they have a bad experience, and then they jump to another brand. And what you end up finding out very quickly is that from jumping from brand to brand, you find out what you like about some brands, but you really won't find out what you don't like about a brand until you have a problem with that brand. What do I mean by that? So, there's folks out there who will only buy a Toyota. They believe Toyota is the most reliable truck they could ever own. And there were a lot of folks who rushed to buy a 2022 Toyota Tundra who were previous Toyota fans, and they're like, this is just going to be a phenomenal truck because I've had absolutely no problems with my current truck. And then again, they go out and buy a brand new vehicle, and then they have a problem. Whether or not it's a problem with the engine, transmission, electronics, something. They have some type of an issue. And they'll cut some slack because of their previous experience, but at the same time, they're going to be critical about the truck that they currently have, wondering if they're going to have more problems. And I think this is an experience a lot of people have. I get a lot of comments on my channel from some folks who've said, you know what, I've owned Ford trucks my entire life, but this last Ford that I owned was the biggest piece of junk. I got really bad service from the dealer. I had all these problems. I'm never going to buy a Ford again. And they jump ship to another brand. And they're like, you know what, now this is the best brand. Boy, I was missing so much until I bought this brand, and now I absolutely love it. The dealer experience is better, and all of this. And a lot of times, people base whether or not they want to own a vehicle on the experience they get in resolving a problem on that vehicle. So, for instance, if you have a Ford pickup truck and you have a problem with it, and you take it to the dealership, and the dealership just doesn't seem like they care, or you don't feel like they care enough about the vehicle that you just spent a lot of money on, and it ends up getting stuck there for a long period of time. And then when you get it back, you find out that the problem is still there, and they've told you they've fixed it. You take it back again, they have the vehicle for another couple of weeks, and then you get the vehicle back and you're like, man, they didn't fix it. I still have more problems. So you build this mentality that the truck manufacturer itself is building a horrible quality product, right? And I think a lot of folks can actually relate to this in 2022 because of the problems people have had with new vehicles that they've purchased. And the excuse, of course, that's all going around is generally related to supply chain issues. They just can't get the parts they need. So what are they substituting in place of a part that they need? And there's a lot of folks who have been die-hard brand loyalists until 2022 because they've been having so many issues with a specific brand that traditionally has treated them very well. So I think that that's part of it, but then the other side of it is the fact that you're a brand loyalist, but you find out when you want to buy a new truck that you saved for and it's time to get a new truck that you just can't get one, or it's going to take you months before you get one ordered and in. And ultimately, you look at other brands because of their availability, because the dealership says, I have one en route and you can have it in a couple of weeks versus a couple of months. Now, what this does is it really opens people's eyes to what the other manufacturers are doing. And this can be a really important thing. For instance, a lot of folks are complaining right now about General Motors with the 6.2 liter V8 and the issues that have been kind of cropping up everywhere related to that engine. You know, the fact is a very small percentage, a very, very small percentage of people will probably have the issues that a lot of people are being very vocal about, but it's certainly enough to make folks who have been maybe die-hard GM fans take a look at another brand. And then they look at another brand and they're like, wow, I can get that truck sooner, or wow, I didn't know that this other brand was doing this certain thing. Maybe it's a larger infotainment system. Maybe it's just a fancier looking interior. Maybe it's more technology in general. Or maybe perhaps it's something related to towing or maneuverability. And it forces people to look at what the other brands are doing. Now, I've been an advocate for this for a long time. I have always, well, I'm not going to say always. There was a time when I was a Chevy fanboy. I was a die-hard Chevy fanboy. Early Duramax, it was that time that everyone was looking at the 2500 HDs, 3500 HDs. I believe the year was around 2001. And they were leaps and bounds above and ahead of where anybody else was. And it was such a cool truck at the time. And I had such big, HD truck envy going on, but I couldn't afford them. And I certainly viewed them as more of eye candy than anything because, again, I wasn't able to afford those trucks. But all that said, as I've gotten older and as I've spent more time in these other vehicles and I've been able to really figure out what makes them different, what the manufacturers are doing to try to make them different and unique, and even similar in some ways, why a manufacturer might want to kind of copy what another manufacturer's doing. I found out relatively quickly that everyone's making a pretty nice truck. And for people who are willing to possibly switch brands, or at least to even look around at other brands, they're finding vehicles that might be much more adept to what they're trying to use it for at price points that might be more reasonable to them. And what I mean by that is, some of these trucks are now including certain features at a certain price point that you could just never get in the past. In the past, if you were looking at like a mid to high trim vehicle, you expected certain things to come in that vehicle that you didn't expect to get in a lower trim truck. And now when you're looking at these new, even lower trim vehicles, a lot of the things that come standard on them are features that you could never get in a higher trim vehicle from 10 years ago. So, again, you look at a 10-year-old vehicle, which really doesn't even seem that old anymore, and something like Bluetooth wasn't available, at least not at that mid-level price point. You had to get a premium vehicle, or a navigation screen, a touch screen. That wasn't available. Or, some of the AC features or some of the other tech features weren't available. A soft opening tailgate, things like that weren't available. That on a lot of trucks, you're starting to see this stuff just come standard on your mid to lower trim vehicles. And, when you look at them now across the gamut of all manufacturers, they're all doing it. So if you're out there truck shopping and you had a bad experience from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and that's what's driving your decision to only look at a specific brand, I really encourage you to at least stop by another dealership and see what they're doing. Stop by a different manufacturer, see what they're doing. And what you may find out is that what they're doing is going to be far more in line with what you're looking for than perhaps the brand that you've been loyal to for so long. And I'm not saying don't have truck brand loyalty. If you want to be loyal to a brand, by all means, be loyal to a brand. And you at least owe it to your income, what you're going to pay financially, to be loyal to the truck that makes most sense for you, what you're going to use it for, your family, and your situation. Because again, if you're only loyal to Toyota, and then you find out that the maximum towing capability of a Toyota Tundra may not meet your minimum requirement for the RV or trailer that you're going to be towing, well, then you need to look outside of that brand and you need to see what's specifically available that's going to be safer for you. And what, again, you may find is that the other brands have really stepped up their game as well. So if you want a 3/4 ton truck, well, obviously you're not going to be able to look at Toyota. It's not going to be a truck that fits the category of 3/4 ton trucks. What do you do at that point? You get a Toyota and you make it work, you fit a square peg into a round hole? Or do you look at a truck manufacturer you may have normally dismissed and perhaps see if that's a brand that might work better for your situation. So that's all I'm trying to say. I definitely recommend that you don't stay so truck loyal or brand loyal that you miss out on a vehicle that might be better for you, or you may miss out on a vehicle that may be just as good for you but at a better price point or better availability, or might put you in a better towing situation sooner. And the last thing you want to do is make a bad purchasing decision, or make a purchasing decision you may regret when you get your vehicle and you start doing additional reviews and additional research just to find out that you may have been better in another vehicle that has something you've been looking for or is better for the situation that you're specifically going to be using it for. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it makes sense. I mean, I know folks, again, are out there, they're very defensive over the branded trucks that they buy, and they want to get something that I guess historically meets their requirements in terms of, you know, checking the box. Okay, it's a Chevy, it's a GM, it's a Ford, it's something that I know I've had good luck with and I'm going to stick with, which is fine. But again, I do encourage you to look outside that box. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.